And now please join me in welcoming Ryan Barkdull to the webcast. Ryan is a corporate trainer for NCA Group, where he is tasked with development of training courses for field adjusters, continuing education compliance, quality control, and oversight. Ryan, thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, Ian, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Well, welcome to today's webcast. Again, like Ian just stated, the topic for today is faster flood forms handling in Xactimate with the report editor. Some of the highlights that we'll cover today will be adding your signature to the preliminary and final report right inside Xactimate. We'll also cover some additional ways to add your signature electronically to those forms at the end of today's session. We'll discuss some of the specifics that your Write Your Own companies require when working their claims, and we'll show how to create some additional reports such as the engineer request, non-waiver, or advance request right inside your Xactimate program. This will reduce printing cost and save time while working flood claims. So let's get started. Starting from the Control Center, we're actually going to go to Modules and select on Report Editor. Once that window appears, we'll go ahead and maximize the size of it. Now on the left, in the upper part here, you'll be able to see all of the profiles that you currently have in your Xactimate program. We're going to go ahead and start with the carrier profile, and we'll link it to the other profiles here in a little bit. You want to select on Estimate out to the right of that. You can either select on, once you click on File, you would either click Open or go to the Manila folder and click Open Report. The template report list box will appear, and we'll select on the drop-down box and go to Claim Manager Reports. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the main preliminary report that you already have built inside your Xactimate program. Once we highlight it and click OK, a warning box will appear that says that this template cannot be modified. Just click OK out of that box when it appears. Once you do that, you'll go up to File and click Save Template As. Now, the report name is an important box because that's the name that actually gets transmitted up to XactAnalysis. No spaces are allowed in this area, so underscores or dashes are acceptable. So we'll call this Flood Preliminary. Now, the report description box is also important as it transmits up to XactAnalysis, but it also, one key feature that it appears in the print window under your Claim Reports tab. So you want to make sure that capitalization or spelling is correct in the event that you would happen to data transfer any of your custom reports to fellow colleagues. So we'll call this Adjuster Preliminary and click OK. We'll scroll down to the bottom, somewhere near where the adjuster signature is, and near the top there'll be an Add Graphic icon. We'll go ahead and select on that. Once we select on the Add a Graphic, we'll place it down somewhere near the adjuster signature area, and we'll worry about alignment here in just a second. Over on the left, there'll be an image box. If you click on the image, there'll be three little dots that appear out to the right, and that way you're able to search for a JPEG of your signature that you would have on your desktop. Now, it has to be in JPEG form. It cannot be in TIFF or PNG or BMP files. As you can see here, the only option is JPEG. So you'll also want to make sure that your signature is cropped nice and tight and on a clear background so that it actually blends into the report. We'll click Open, and in that box that we just placed down near the adjuster signature areas, we'll click on it once so that the signature appears, and then we're able to use the toggles to stretch it and center it more on the adjuster signature line. Once we do that, we want to save this new template report. If you happen to accidentally X out of the report editor after doing anything in here, it doesn't prompt you to save it. So you want to make sure that you either click on the disk and hit Save Report, or go up to File and click Save Report. Once we save that, we're going to actually go to the File and click Open Report, and we're going to actually go in and open up the final report and do the same thing that we just done to the preliminary here. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the final report, click OK, and then we'll save the template as, and then obviously call it whatever you want as far as the flood adjuster or flood final report or adjuster final report, or however you want to label that. We'll click OK. We'll go to the top, click Add a Graphic, click somewhere near the adjuster signature and actually go find the JPEG of your signature again, click open, and that way you're able to place it on that adjuster signature line. All the tokens that are available in here are also available on any custom reports that you would happen to create inside the report editor, plus hundreds more. Now, one key feature, once you create those new reports, you want to right-click on them and either go to the profile links or over to options and click on profile links so that you can add it to the other profiles that you may need it in. On this example, I think we're just selecting on all profiles here. All right, so we've got a sample claim, and we've got most of the information filled out here, but we're going to go to the Claim Reports tab and actually go and view the regular preliminary that you already have in the program. A lot of the data is already here, but and obviously you know that the adjuster signature doesn't populate to that. But we'll highlight the preliminary report that we just created and click on View. The same information all populates with the addition of adding your signature there. Now the only other thing would be is if you have to have a negative water height for an interior, such as if there was water in the basement and it's below the lowest elevated floor, on a negative water height there, you would have to add the negative number in with a PDF program after the PDF's created. However, in version 28, we do have the ability to go into a negative number, which is a great enhancement to the program. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go over to the final report, and we're going to view that. A lot of write-your-own companies like the word none in the alterations box and none in the priors box. You're not able to type the word none in the priors box currently, but you're able to add that to the PDF if the WIO actually requires it. It does make the final report look better if the word none is there, as it looks like the adjuster at least addressed if there were priors or not. Now, if the WIO requires the word none in the identify cause box, that would also be something that you would have to add to the PDF after it's created. So again, here there's the area where the priors box is at and the word none being listed in there, and also the identify cause. If the WIO is requesting that, that would have to be added to the PDF after it's created. But you notice here that your signature is already listed in the final report, and it's real easy to upload it from that point for review from management or the adjusting firm reviewer. Now we're going to go into and open the general loss report template to create a custom report. On this example, we've actually got the engineer request. So we'll go ahead and open up the general loss report template. Click OK. Again, the warning box will appear that says that it can't be modified. So we're going to go ahead and select on File and click Save Template As, and we're going to go ahead and call this Engineer Request. For the report description, we'll call this Request for Engineer. We'll click OK. Now there's a lot of boxes inside the general loss report that aren't required for an engineer, so we can really simply just delete them. Now you'll notice that they're in sections or grouped together, and that's called logical sections. It's just a grouping of data. And for more information on the report editor itself, the guide is available on the eService Center through the answers. All right, so we're going to go ahead and delete out the title here, and we're going to go ahead and go to Add a Label. We're just going to click it somewhere in that area, and we're able to go to the left-hand side and type the text that we want for the header. Now, once it's placed here, if we want to make the font bigger or bolder, you have all the options over here that you would for Microsoft Word or Excel. You can change the font style, the size, you can make it bold, you can align to the left or the right, snap to a grid. You have a lot of options. It's kind of like Microsoft Word, Excel, and Paint all mixed into one program. So we'll go ahead and add another label for some static text. Now this text would appear on every engineer request on this particular example, and that may be information that how the engineer would get the report back to the adjusting firm. So we'll go ahead and click, once we had saved there, we're going to go ahead and go to our general loss report. We'll go to the Remark tab. Now on the right over there you have an option for import. You may already have some stuff in here if you work Win, but we'll call this this new template Remarks for Engineer. And that way it's able to be saved, and if you need it again, you can always add to it or modify it for the next request in the event that you would have needed it. So we'll call this insured pointed out cracks on the foundation on the rear elevation. And the cool thing with this is it will add the specifics to the claim that the engineer would need to scope for. So they're not out there scoping everything and items that aren't even covered by the NFIP flood policy. Makes the document a little bit more intuitive for the adjuster too to be able to do that. All right, so we'll click OK. And again, if you ever need it again, if you click on the import, it'll be there in the future for future claims. And click Save. Then we'll go to the print window and view our sample engineer request report that we just created. It will appear in your Claim Reports tab. You can highlight it and click View. You'll notice that all the information that we just put in, including the static text, and also the specifics down under the Remarks to Engineer are all there. So that way the adjuster can make an engineer request and just simply highlight it and click Upload, and it's complete. Now this is a sample NFS engineer request that we have that has a lot more information. It kind of shows how you can put some lines in and you can align things real nice and make it real nice for the engineer. And once they complete this, they can just simply highlight it and click Upload, and it will stage out to the outbox for the next time that the adjuster would connect. Okay, so we've got Adobe X here, and any Adobe Reader version 10 or higher, which I think they're on 11 right now, you're able to add text to a PDF after it's created. Adobe Reader is a free version that's available. So anything that the Write Your Own company would require that wouldn't be normal in our normal claims operation, you can go to the sign option and click on Add Text. Again, on this example, we need a negative number on this, let's say for the interior water height. So we simply click out to the left of that and put in a negative number. Now, obviously, you can put negative 7 foot 9 inches if it was an 8 foot ceiling versus the 3 inches that we have here on this example. But again, version 28, we do have the ability to go to a negative number, and we'll show that here in a second. With Adobe Reader, you also have the ability to be able to place a signature. Now, again, I believe that the report editor is a more efficient way to do that, but you do have the option here to be able to either draw your signature, and as you can see here, I'm not really talented enough to be able to draw that, so we'll go ahead and click on Use an Image, and that way you'll be able to browse your desktop for a JPEG of your signature, and you can click Open. You can click Accept here, and it will load that signature on your mouse, and you're able to place it down in the adjuster signature area. It keeps the integrity of the PDF, so you don't have to print it off, sign it, and then scan it back in. All right, let's take a look at a claim over in version 28 here. Again, on any of those PDFs, they can always be uploaded as a custom document back into the Xactimate program. So this is a version 28 example, and just to show that we have 2 new enhancements to the flood side. Under Flood Forms Administration, under the Building and Occupancy, we have the ability to be able to add the flood zone, which will populate out to the preliminary report. Under the Origin tab, we also have the ability to go to a negative water height, which is really important, especially if you have a basement where you would need to go to a negative number. With this enhancement, there's no need to really ever print the preliminary and sign it again, because you have the negative number here, and you also have the ability to add your signature to the program. Ian, that's all I have for the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. We invite you to stay with us for the question and answer session, where Ryan will answer questions that have been submitted via email. As mentioned earlier, Xactware offers an ongoing series of free webcasts on the 3rd Wednesday of each month, where leading professionals share their expertise and insights in 18 minutes or less. The next Xactware webcast will air on November 20th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and is titled, Using the Floor Covering Tool in Xactimate. For more information or to register, please visit Xactware.com. Thanks everyone for joining us for the QA session. Ryan, you ready to field a few questions?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay. First question we have, is there anything I need to watch for when creating advanced request and non-waivers?
Well, you'll have hundreds of tokens to choose from, more than the normal Word template editor or Excel template editor. If you search for a particular token, you'll need to test it to ensure that the data that you're wanting is populating correctly. To the right of the disk in the icons in the report editor, there's a print preview icon. If you click on that, you'll be able to test the new report from any of the claims in your program without having to exit out of the report editor. Also, please ensure that you're also saving the template prior to exiting the report editor program. If you have several options to change the font style, the size, whether it aligns to the right or the left, aligning to grid options, and adding lines horizontal or vertical.
Okay, yeah, a lot of options. I like that preview idea just to make sure everything looks correct. Okay, question number 2 we have here. Some write your own companies do require some additional items in the reports. What items do you see that are commonly needed?
Well, most WIOs have like a narrative report template they like for the adjusters to use. Most narratives contain much of the same information. And you could token that narrative for items that could be pushed from the claim to save some time and also be accurate on the specifics of the claim. On the preliminary, just make sure that every box is filled out. The only box that can actually be left empty is the tax ID number. Even the work number is required. And if the insured doesn't have a work number, you can either use all 9s or not applicable, or make the work number the same as the home number. The final report is where a lot of write-your-own companies require different things. For example, like the priors box and the alterations box. If there are no substantial alterations or no priors, they like to see the word none in those areas. And I agree with that requirement because it ensures that the adjuster did actually address those lines there and not just left them blank. The word none can be placed in the alterations box inside Xactimate. The word none in the priors box cannot be added without having to add it to the PDF after it's created. And like I'd stated earlier in the presentation, if you understand Boolean expressions, and you can edit your new final report to make the word none appear if there are no priors without having to type it every time.
Okay.
I've done this for our flood adjusters, and at some point in the future, I would hope Xactimate would have some type of checkbox in that area. So if there are no priors, you can select on that checkbox and it will automatically populate that word none. Just one more point. Inside the final report, one write-your-own carrier in particular requires the word none in the identify cause box in the claim summary section. This box is typically grayed out, and if you're not able to add it, unless there actually is another cause, for example, like wind damages. If that's the case in that situation, you would actually need to add that word none in that section after the PDF's created.
All right, excellent explanation. Thank you. You mentioned preliminary report, and this next question has to do with preliminary report. It says, can I make the preliminary report that is already inside Xactimate have my signature?
No, unfortunately, any of the report templates that are currently in the program are locked and cannot be modified. And that's a good thing, because in the event that you would happen to corrupt or damage one of your saved templates, you can always go back to the original report and start over. You would not want your basic reports that are already built inside the program to be damaged and not able to be used.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Next question is, can the signature procedure be used on any of the reports in Xactimate?
Yes, you can add a graphic of your company logo or any JPEG to a custom report. You can create your own custom reports so that they're available in the program. Like, for example, if the write-your-own carrier has an advance request form, you could easily replicate it over in the report editor. And when the adjuster is making first contact with that insured and discusses the loss, they would be able to ascertain if the advance would be needed. They could go into the claim and print the advance request, which would populate all the claim info, so that they could take it to the inspection to have the insured sign.
All right, thank you. We have a few more questions, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I use the report macros section to stack my reports. Will these additional reports be available in that section also?
Yes, actually, any of the reports that you create inside the report editor would show up in the claim reports tab along with being present inside the macros tab. They would be able to be merged into the one PDF if the Write Your Own Carrier requires a stacked PDF.
Perfect. Okay. Can you explain why you would need a negative number in the preliminary?
Yeah, a negative number on an interior water height would indicate how low the water line is from the lowest elevated floor. In the example of a basement, if there's 4 inches of water in the basement, the adjuster would need to measure basically from the top of the lowest elevated floor, or otherwise the bottom of the floor joist, down to the water line. So if the ceiling was 8 foot tall and we had 4 inches of water in it, the negative number would be negative 7 foot 8 inches for an interior water height.
Okay. Okay, good explanation. Okay, a couple more questions. If I build a custom report and want to send it to other users at my company, how do I perform this?
Any of the new reports that you create inside the report editor will show up in a report template section when you're in the data transfer option in the control center. And that way you're able to send it to your desktop or send it through Xactanalysis to any of the other users' Xactnet addresses.
Okay, pretty simple. And last question is, when creating a custom report, how do I pull in tokens for the report?
Well, while you're inside the report editor, over on the left side of the screen where we showed earlier, where you would go search for the image, there's a palette, and inside the search box below the profile name, you can type in all or part of a given token. For example, if you want to find the token for insured name, you can just type insured name and click search. Now, there will probably be several different tokens that look similar that will populate into that search results field. So you would obviously need to test it to ensure that you're pulling the correct information.
Okay. And that's all the questions that we have. Ryan, really appreciate it. Thanks again for joining us today.
Oh, no problem, Ian. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
If we didn't cover your question, someone from Xactware will respond to you via email. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, please join us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, or check out and comment on our CEO's blog. We also invite you to join us on